what? No, my little. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Journals, only here on Black Mass Paranormal. Now that you are here for my first video of 2026, there's a lot to get everybody caught up on. Over the past several months, I have been working extremely hard, behind the scenes, doing research, and making a few purchases. How did we get here? Some of you all are going to be coming from the Confessionals podcast, and this might be your first introduction to me. So my name's Brian, and I am located in East Tennessee. I love the paranormal. I love anything spooky and scary, and I love going out in the wilderness to try to capture this stuff firsthand. Now, recently, I had kind of a weird interaction. It wasn't totally out of the ordinary because people come up to me all the time with their stories about their cryptids and their ghosts, and I love hearing them. And if I have the opportunity to follow up on them, that's exactly what I do. And in this case, that's exactly what I did. This individual was a little bit different. A couple months ago, I was introduced to a man named Gary. He told me about some issues that he was having on his property with what he believed to be a group of people living in the mountains, basically off the land in his area. Well, he said that's what he thought they were at first. So Gary proceeds to tell me that he had been going hunting. It was deer season. Although it's on his private property, he still likes to try to keep it within the season. And during this time, he was in his full hunting kit. He had descent on him to try to persuade any deer or any animals from following him. He was doing everything an experienced hunter should do. And what the paranormal world has always been asking is why are hunters not coming forward with their story? There's two parts to this. One is because there is no way for them to truly validate themselves. So a lot of the times they get dismissed. And the other reason is basically out of fear for their life. They don't want to try to relive this situation or to put somebody else in that danger. But I kind of fall in between, and that's why me and Gary were able to connect in the way that we were. One evening, Gary had gotten out of work and decided that he was going to go out to his tree stand on his property. He had been out in his stand for a little while, and then he started noticing some strange movements. He initially thought that it could be a deer, he's excited. There's something moving out here. It's probably coming in for the deer. And right at this time, it was around dusk. So after he heard the sounds of movement in the woods, he began to notice that the movement that he was seeing does not match a deer. It didn't match a bear. It didn't match a raccoon. It was something totally different from what he had normally experienced. Well, I kind of take that back. Not from what he had normally experienced, but now Gary has had these encounters with these things before, and he wasn't sure exactly what they were, but he told me that he was able to typically fire a couple of shots off, and that would disperse whatever it was, because mainly he was thinking it was a bear and sometimes a bear with cubs. So that's how he was able to kind of change the environment before this particular situation. He begins to notice that this movement in the woods is happening a little bit more frequently than he is used to. But then he realizes that the movement that's happening around him isn't happening just in his direct line of sight. It is actually happening kind of all around him. And at this point, Gary is pretty scared. He begins firing off shots and nothing happens. He said he's a good mile away from a main road that he used to access this portion of his property. He owns hundreds of acres. So Gary has fired his shots. He realizes that whatever he's doing is not working. So at this point, he decides that he's going to exit his tree stand and try to start getting home. And that's when he noticed that these figures began moving towards him. And that's when he noticed also that these figures were definitely humanoid. Said he really kind of panicked. So at this point, Gary is pretty terrified of what's happening around him. And he was able to have enough knowledge of this land to be able to kind of duck away and hide in different areas that he knew. He began noticing the clicking sound. And in the paranormal world, this is a pretty consistent auditory thing that happens. And for the longest time, we all kind of thought it was some sort of communication or something like that. It's weird. He's heading to water. It's like something snapping. Look at that shit. That right there is a human print. Like that. Well, Gary, being the hunter that he is, he was wearing decent. He had all of these tricks to keep himself from being noticed by the animals that he was hunting, that it would still apply in this situation. But with that clicking sound, he noticed that he was not able to get away from these individuals. And that the clicking sound was actually being used as a form of sonar, which is pretty freaking crazy. And it actually does explain a whole lot. And we'll kind of backtrack here for a second. We're going to go back about 9 or 10 years. About 9 or 10 years ago, I read an article about a little boy named Ben Underwood. Now, Ben at age 3 was diagnosed with ocular cancer. He ended up losing completely both of his eyes. During his childhood, he began recognizing that he could navigate his environment using a form of click. So Ben began practicing this and developing this skill in his head, and was able to actually learn to navigate his entire environment simply by using clicks. And it goes to as far as Ben's actually able to ride a bike by simply using this clicking sound. That is reported in so many encounters. It's in the paranormal world.
I consider myself blind. Ain't nothing wrong with me.
Ben has no guide dog and never uses a white cane. He's not even using his hands. Instead, he sees with sound. He makes a sharp click which bounces back off nearby objects. Amazingly, Ben's ears pick up the echoes and he can precisely locate where things are.
And that Gary, this individual who was in his, in his 70s, a lifelong hunter, was able to experience this sound and recognize really kind of what was happening. So even though Gary was struggling getting away from them, he was able to make it out to a main road and kind of get away. Now, these encounters with feral people almost always reference this clicking sound, and nobody has made the connection as far as I can tell. So this connection is coming directly from this channel, out of my own research and my own hard work following up on leads. I'm super proud of this, by the way, so that's kind of why I'm kind of waving my own flag or whatever. I've put so much time and effort into learning this stuff and purchasing new equipment to be able to go on these adventures. Ben was not the only case of this clicking sound either. There are several cases, even on YouTube, you can look them up yourself, that shows blind people using this sort of clicking sound in order to navigate their environment and live a relatively normal life. It was kind of amazing to hear that Ben was even riding a bicycle. However, in this particular case, the feral people have been developing this kind of form of sight. And if you go back to all of the encounters that have come, people who have come forward with encounters of the feral people, they always report their eyes. Their eyes are different, that they are almost always like cataract, almost white. So where does that, how is that a common theme? Well, we know that throughout several species that live solely in caves and tunnel systems, they do not rely on their vision in order to navigate the caves. And this actually solves a massive problem with human history, even, because we are finding evidence of Neanderthals even living in these deep cave systems that would almost mean certain death if their only source of light, which was a torch in a cave that often leaks some sort of poisonous or flammable gas, goes out. And I believe that explains the Neanderthal problem as well. Now, a lot of people have tried to make the connection with the feral people and the Neanderthals. I'm not 100% sure. I kind of go back and forth with that. And with Gary's, this kind of solves so many things within the feral person problem and the disappearances that happen. A lot of the reports suggest that these feral people are in fact cannibals and they are inbred. Well, we know for a fact that you can only inbreed within a certain amount of family lineage before you start having major problems. So what would happen, or what would they need in order to continue living? People from the outside world. And it happens a lot. People vanish in Appalachia a lot, and we find no evidence of their bodies. We find no evidence of anything. It's like somebody in the middle of the woods just picked them up and took them away. So in the paranormal world, what I'm saying really solves a lot of major issues. And I didn't just stop at a single interview. You all know me. I do like to go out, and I love to be out in the mountains and searching these areas and be on these adventures. I have what I believe that I have located where what I call the clan of feral people are actually able to exist. I've been working on kind of like a documentary style episode series for this. This is kind of a good way to kind of get me back into releasing these videos and coming forward. I'm still working really hard on editing a lot of these and putting things together because I've invested a whole lot, and I want the presentation to be right, and I want everybody to really enjoy all of this because we have a lot of things planned as well. As you can see, sitting right beside me is a KLR 650. Now on this channel, you all have seen me ride my other bike, the CT 125, and you know that it was my dad's, and I've really enjoyed riding it. It's been a fantastic connection. I've only been able to really talk motorcycles between like two men in my life, and that's my Uncle Terry and my dad. And you know, through that I've created a love for motorcycles, and now I am going to be using that love to connect and research Bigfoot and feral people and Dogman and all of that stuff. Now, I had talked several times on the channel about a surprise that I had been working on putting together that is going to be kind of next level in the world of paranormal research. And you know, part of it was this motorcycle and my kind of plan to research basically the entire southeast section. I would love to get into the northeast section of the Appalachian Trail, and we're definitely going to try to do that. My goal in this was I wanted a motorcycle that I would be able to hop on and ride the back roads all the way up to West Virginia to Point Pleasant, which is what we're planning on doing soon. I have been working hard on investigating these feral people over on the North Carolina side of the Appalachians. These encounters are typically reported on the Tennessee and North Carolina border, and that is where I found them. So we are going to be covering a lot of new stuff coming up, and I'm really excited to be able to share it all with you. I do apologize for being quiet about all of this stuff, but I've been really working hard to be able to present something to you all that is relatively easily consumable. We're going to be getting everything back here, especially in the month of February. We have several giveaways that we gotta get buttoned up, getting buttoned up on. I haven't forgot about all of that stuff. I'm going to continue to do that. I have been working on getting all my sponsorships in order and getting some new merch and stuff available to you all. Definitely, if you to help out the channel, you don't have to. I am, you know, basically funding all of this myself, and I've done this in a way where I'm pretty okay. Not great, but I'm pretty okay. We're going to be able to get all of this stuff coming, and you know, it's not going to stop. Nothing is going to stop me from continuing to research the paranormal, to take you all on some awesome moto camping adventures. And we're going to be going to research some Sasquatch, some Mothman, all of that good stuff. And you know, so if you do want to help Ben, there is a donation list. I am grateful to all of my members, all of my I'm going to keep this train going no matter what. So y'all don't worry about that. This hasn't been a fall off. This has been a major discovery and a major move forward for the channel. Yeah. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Definitely give this video a like and let me know what you thought in the comments, and we'll see you soon.